Most people enter the workplace believing performance is the main thing that matters. Do good work, be reliable, stay professional, and eventually the system notices. Sometimes it does, but often something else is happening underneath, quietly. Because most workplace lessons are not written in contracts, onboarding documents, or company values. They're learned later, usually after confusion or disappointment or watching someone less capable move ahead more quickly. And the uncomfortable part is this: the smartest employees are often the slowest to notice these patterns because they assume competence is enough. It rarely is. Here are 15 workplace truths people usually learn several years too late. The first is that visibility matters almost as much as ability. Not more, but close. A surprising number of employees become extremely valuable while remaining almost invisible. They solve problems, fix mistakes, keep things stable. But stability is difficult to notice. Most organizations react more strongly to visible movement than quiet consistency, which means someone presenting average work confidently can appear more impactful than someone producing excellent work silently. That feels unfair, because it is. But it also explains many promotions people struggle to understand. The second truth is that managers are often overwhelmed, not strategic. Employees sometimes imagine management as a carefully coordinated system. In reality, many managers are improvising. They are handling deadlines, politics, budget pressure, staffing problems, and their own job insecurity simultaneously. So decisions that appear deeply calculated are often simply convenient. The employee who communicates clearly and reduces friction usually gains trust faster than the employee who is technically superior but difficult to manage. Not because the company is irrational, because cognitive overload changes priorities. The third truth is that reliability becomes your identity. At first, being dependable feels entirely positive, and mostly it is, but workplaces tend to freeze people into roles. If you become known as the person who always fixes operational problems, people may stop imagining you as leadership material. The reward for efficiency is often more efficiency work, not necessarily advancement. That's where many capable employees become trapped. They become essential in the wrong way. The fourth truth is that promotions are frequently based on perceived future value, not past contribution. Employees assume promotions are rewards, often they are predictions. Management asks a different question than most employees expect. Not who worked hardest, but who looks capable of operating at the next level. Those are not identical things. Someone who demonstrates decision making, communication, and strategic thinking early may advance faster than someone producing stronger individual output, because companies promote trajectory as much as achievement, sometimes more. The fifth truth is that emotional control is treated as competence. This one surprises people, particularly intelligent people, because they expect workplaces to evaluate accuracy objectively. But emotional steadiness strongly affects perception. The employee who remains calm during pressure is often viewed as more senior, more trustworthy, and more capable, even when someone else is technically sharper. Organizations associate composure with leadership potential, which means visible frustration can quietly damage credibility long before anyone mentions it directly. The sixth truth is that being liked matters, not in a shallow way, in a human way. Most professional decisions involve uncertainty, and when uncertainty exists, people lean toward individuals they enjoy working with. Employees often resist this idea because it sounds political, but cooperation is emotional. Trust is emotional. Even large corporations still run on human instinct underneath the structure. The person who creates ease in conversations often gains opportunities earlier than the person who creates tension, even if unintentionally. That doesn't mean becoming fake. It means understanding that relationships are part of the job, not separate from it. The seventh truth is that companies rarely feel loyalty the way employees do. This can sound cynical, but it's mostly structural. Companies optimize around survival, efficiency, and incentives. Individuals optimize around meaning, stability, and identity. Those priorities overlap temporarily, not permanently. Employees often discover this during restructures or layoffs or budget cuts. A company may genuinely appreciate someone while still removing their role because institutions do not experience attachment in the same way humans do. Understanding this changes how people think about career security. The eighth truth is that clarity beats intelligence in meetings. Many employees overestimate the value of complexity, but senior people usually prefer simplicity. The employee who explains a difficult issue clearly in 2 minutes often appears more impressive than the employee delivering a highly detailed 10-minute explanation. Because clarity signals understanding, complexity sometimes signals uncertainty. This becomes increasingly important as careers progress. At junior levels, knowledge matters heavily. At senior levels, translation matters more. The ninth truth is that urgency is contagious. One anxious executive can reshape an entire department's behavior within hours. Workplaces often mirror the emotional tone of leadership. If senior management behaves reactively, employees begin prioritizing speed over judgment. Mistakes increase, communication worsens, short term thinking expands. And strangely, many organizations remain permanently trapped in artificial urgency. Everything becomes critical, which means eventually nothing is. Employees who learn to separate genuine emergencies from organizational anxiety usually preserve their energy far more effectively. The 10th truth is that career damage often happens gradually, not dramatically. Most people expect careers to decline through major mistakes. Usually, it happens through smaller patterns, becoming difficult to collaborate with, missing subtle communication expectations, developing a reputation for negativity, remaining static while the organization changes. Tiny impressions accumulate quietly over years, and by the time someone notices the shift, the perception is already established. That's why self awareness becomes increasingly valuable over time. The 11th truth is that confidence and competence are regularly confused, especially in fast moving organizations. People speaking decisively are often assumed to know more than they actually do. Meanwhile, highly capable employees sometimes weaken their own influence by speaking too cautiously. This creates an uncomfortable reality. Accuracy alone does not persuade people. Delivery matters a great deal. The employees who advance fastest usually learn how to communicate certainty without becoming reckless. That balance is surprisingly rare. The 12th truth is that most people are too focused on themselves to analyze you deeply. This becomes strangely liberating. Employees often spend years overestimating how closely others are evaluating them, but most colleagues are occupied by their own deadlines, insecurities, and ambitions. Small mistakes fade quickly. Awkward meetings disappear from memory. Perceived embarrassment is usually self-generated. Understanding this reduces unnecessary fear, which often improves performance naturally. The 13th truth is that burnout is frequently rewarded before it is punished. At first, overwork creates visibility. People praise responsiveness, commitment, availability, but eventually the cost appears. Decision quality drops, patience disappears, creativity narrows. And because high performers often hide exhaustion well, organizations may continue extracting output long after sustainability disappears. Some employees only realize this after reaching complete emotional detachment from work they once cared about deeply. That recovery can take years. The 14th truth is that strategic silence is valuable. Not every opinion improves your position. Not every meeting requires contribution. Not every mistake needs immediate correction in public. Experienced employees understand timing. They know when clarity helps and when restraint helps more. You can often learn more about organizational power from what people avoid saying than from what they openly discuss. That becomes increasingly obvious at senior levels. The 15th truth is probably the most important. Your career is not only shaped by skill, it is shaped by environment. Many employees spend years assuming they are failing when they are simply badly matched to the system around them. Some workplaces reward precision, others reward speed, others reward politics, others reward creativity. A person can look average in one company and exceptional in another. The difference is often cultural alignment, not intelligence. That matters because employees sometimes internalize environments that were never designed for their strengths in the first place. And once people realize that, something shifts. Work becomes easier to interpret, less personal, less emotional. You start noticing patterns instead of reacting to every situation individually. You stop expecting organizations to behave like families. You stop assuming effort automatically creates opportunity. You stop confusing busyness with importance, and gradually you become calmer, not because work becomes simple, but because it becomes legible. That's the strange thing about workplace experience. The biggest lessons are rarely technical, they are behavioral, quiet observations people collect slowly over years. Usually, after watching the same patterns repeat enough time to stop calling them coincidences. And perhaps that's the real transition into professional maturity. Not becoming cynical, just becoming accurate.